Okay, do you have an employment agreement or a contract? Either one of them, you need to know what it says. You need to be reading the stuff and paying attention. It doesn't hurt once a year to pull that stuff out and review it. And you may find that there are some things as you've grown over the last few years, coming to conference, learning more things, you may find that there's some changes that you would like to make in your next contract. Or your next agreement. You may be able to convince the board that, you know, I've been to conference and I've seen this kind of language or have heard about this kind of language in employment agreements or contracts, and I would like to add that language to my contract. It doesn't necessarily mean greater benefits, but maybe a little bit more protection. So as you learn more, you're trying to protect yourself. Remember, that club is filled with wonderful people, and they love you to death until the day you're fired, and then nobody knows you anymore. So you have to protect yourself. You have to pay attention to those little things. And I think you should go back and review that contract or that agreement and make sure that it has language in it that protects you. I talk about, and will in a bit, talk about a personal board of directors. And in my personal board of directors, I had an employment attorney. That doesn't mean I had him on retainer. I just identified a guy in town that was an employment expert, an attorney and employment expert, and said, if I find a need for you, are you available on relatively short notice? He says, as long as I've got you in my Rolodex, I'm available to you, maybe not immediately and maybe not without some notice, but on relatively short notice. Fine, he's on my personal board of directors. Now I've got somebody I can turn to if I need him, and I'm not scrambling. Remember, I'm in shock. I just got fired. I'm scrambling to find a phone book, and I can't even remember that it doesn't come under L in the yellow pages for lawyers. It comes under A for attorneys. I am shocked. So have this in mind already. Think about it. Document your verbal promises. This is a great story. I was talking to a manager one day who told me that he had gone to a club, and he was absolutely adamant that he have a contract. That was so necessary to him. And the reason it was so important is because he had a child with Down syndrome. And he could not live without health insurance. This was an expensive, not just emotionally devastating, but an expensive life that he was maintaining. His son with Down syndrome. So he had to have some protection. If he lost his job, he needed to make sure that he had some access to cheap health insurance. COBRA's fine, but you got to pay for it. And if you don't have a job, it's kind of hard to pay for it. So he wanted a contract. He wanted some buyout. Well, the board absolutely refused to give him a contract. They said, that will not happen. However, we are nice people. We are you will not find a nicer group of people. We understand the situation, and I'm telling you right now today, we will not let anything happen that's going to be that tough on you and your family. And there were some other words in there they said. Well, after giving it a lot of thought, he felt comfortable, and it was a job he really wanted. It was in a great club. It was a nice pay raise. It was something he really wanted. So he took the job, and everything went well for a few years, and about 4 years into it, they let him go. So when he asked about health insurance to cover his child, they said, you have COBRA. He said, you guys told me that you were going to take care of me, and whatever other language that they had used, and they said, no, we're not going to do that. Well, he was smart. He had gone home after that day 4 years or so earlier. He had gone home and he had written a memo, a little letter to himself, and he said, here are the people who were in the meeting, and here's basically what they said, and here's what I understood from their conversation. And he says, I don't know why I did that, but I just felt that I felt strongly that this is something I should do. So, and he just put it in some file folder he had. Well, he went to see a lawyer following his termination after they told him, sign up for COBRA. He went to see a lawyer, and the lawyer said, you know, in this state, verbal promises are binding. They can be binding. He said, let's call the attorney for the club and talk to them. And as it turned out, after a little negotiating, of course, clubs don't want a lawsuit or anything like that. Nobody wants to go through that. But after a little negotiating, the club decided that they would cover the cost of his COBRA insurance for 18 months, the period of time that he was going to be eligible. Had he not taken the time to write that stuff down and keep it, see, that's impressive. If you got an employee that's getting ready to fire him, and you know they're going to apply for unemployment, and you don't want them to get unemployment because you think they're dirtbags, And if you got all your stuff together, when you get a call from the unemployment office and they say, so-and-so is filed for unemployment and he's appealed your earlier decision, and you say, no, ma'am, I've got all the stuff right here. Can I fax this over to you? What do they call them? The legal advisor or whatever for the state. You fax that stuff over to them. You'll win your case almost every time. It's having that paperwork handy, having it in your hands that makes all the difference in the world. And that's what happened in the case of the verbal promise. It was impressive. He had this dog-eared copy of a piece of paper that was, 4 years old and obviously was not a brand new thing that he had printed out. And he took it to the lawyer and said, here, this is what I wrote down the day it all happened. It's dated. I signed it. It's all here. And they were able to negotiate with the club because the club knew that he had at least done his homework and they had made those commitments. Remember, the people who made the commitments aren't on the board anymore. They're gone. So important to have that information.